Hi everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Model. Last week we had Lin Sun from Magic Leap join us, which was a fantastic episode. I hope that you all enjoyed that. Our second podcast episode from the robotics series with myself, Dan, is with Raj Shettigara, who is the VP of Engineering from Vayu Robotics. Vayu Robotics are an exciting startup that's building AI and sensing capabilities for robots. And Raj also spent some time developing Lidar systems at Velodyne Lidar. I'll hand over to you, Raj, to give a proper introduction to yourself. Welcome and thanks for joining us today.
Thanks a lot, Dan. It was so kind of you to introduce me to your audience. Let me start with my education. I majored in adaptive signal processing, semiconductor, and communication engineering. And all of these topics really, really fascinate me. I'm truly passionate about all of these things. I'm mesmerized by the impact they have on our life. May it be a dishwasher, a vacuum cleaner, or the smartphones, the computer, or any electronic gadget you see around you, including the contemporary chat GPT. It really makes our day-to-day life better and joyful. Don't you agree
Mhm.
with me?
Absolutely, yeah. It's amazing to see, how much semiconductors are used in tech manufacturing today. I never realized.
That's correct. So I went through different the transformation of analog to digital world.
Mhm.
The first one is the audio, then the video and multimedia in general. I worked on various flat screen displays, the smart TVs of the world. I vividly remember boxing my big honking CRT computer monitor at the office and same at my home. I don't
Yeah.
think most of the current generation can visualize what a CRT monitor is or what a CRT TV is.
No, they weren't around when I was younger. I I grew up in the era of dial-up internet.
Yeah. So I also seen the transformation of analog interconnects through the digital interconnects. I worked on various standards like the DVI, HDMI, the DisplayPort, the USB, and the Thunderbolts. And as we speak, the data center is always an odd man in the out. They always look for better interconnect for the higher throughput requirements. And of
Mhm.
course, the fiber optics is a natural choice. I worked on the first generation of CMOS based optical transceivers. I designed the active optical cables and deployed on the data center through the world. And as you see, this type of optical communication over the fibers can also be expanded through the free space communication. And such technologies are used in the defense industry and in some niche industry for ages. Unfortunately, this technology of optical sensing are commonly understood as LiDAR not came to the consumer industry because of the cost and because of the limited supply chain. With the autonomous or self-driving technology, the, the 3D optical sensing or the LiDAR became a household name. I had the opportunity to work with the Velodyne Lidar, who pioneered in the LiDAR industry. I worked on the various LiDARs, fine-tuned for applications like mapping,
Yeah.
the farming, weather monitoring, and of
Hmm.
course the autonomy and the smart cities of the world.
Hmm.
If you know today, people talk about mainly two categories of the lidar. One is something called spinning or mechanical lidar. Other one is which
Hmm.
is a stationary or solid state lidar. And at Velodyne, we truly designed these two families of lidar and fine-tuned it for various applications.
I see, fantastic. And so this is where your introduction into autonomous driving and robotics came about then.
That's right. So that's where I realized the potential of the autonomy or the mobile robots.
Mhm.
And that's where I started working in Vayu Robotics. At Vayu
Yeah.
Robotics, we have only one mission to realize a rational solution for last mile delivery. So
Hmm.
you may wonder what are the challenges in the last mile delivery? People have talked about this last mile delivery forever. And
Yeah.
what are the challenges? According to me, there are two of them. One is what is the cost per delivery? Is it
Hmm.
on par with the person delivering the goods from point A to point B, or I need to pay premium? The
Hmm.
second one um, is what are the technical challenges? I mean, why we can't make an affordable robot to deliver from point A to point B?
Hmm.
So we at Vayu Robotics not only focus on optimizing the BOM cost, we also have a autonomy stack which is unconditionally safe.
Hmm.
We build various components in-house. We made our own sensors with uh, with the reliability and the performance in the mind. It will
Yeah.
detect various materials like the water, the ice, the snow, and the oil. It enables us to detect the these materials on the road. Hence, we can identify the slippery road conditions, which makes the driving experience more safer.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, such an exciting area of development, and such a unique set of problems and challenges that kind of presents in making this technology a reality. So, yeah, it sounds like you're doing some amazing work, and thanks for that introduction. There's a few topics that we're going to cover today for anyone that's listening. We're going to talk a little bit about some of these kind of main trends within robotics, or some of the challenges that you might be facing right now, or have come across in developing these sensors for robotics applications over the last few years. We're going to talk a little bit about Raj's career up to now, in a sense of, what advice does he have for maybe kind of early to mid engineers in the industry, or even experienced engineers who want to um, move into that next level and level up. And then finally, talking a bit more about how Raj has grown teams, in his current role and in previous roles. All really useful information for business leaders who are listening, I'm sure. So, yeah, I think we should dive in first, Raj, to some of these industry trends in robotics. So, you talked a little bit about using AI to and advanced sensors to kind of detect different weather conditions and things like that. But yeah, I'll hand over to you. What are your thoughts on this? Kind of where are we now, and kind of where do you see the main trends in this area?
Correct. So before we really dive into that, I'd like to sort of address this issue from the bigger picture. The robots, as we know, is not a new trend. So it was always there. Then it begs the question, what is like really stopping us from deploying these robots on our day-to-day life, which we all agree makes our life simpler and better? According to me, uh, there are two things, which is what is the value proposition and at what cost. I'll elaborate this little bit with an example. Today, if you see the Roomba, which is also synonymous with the vacuum cleaner, we have no sort of hesitation in going and buying a Roomba and keeping it at our homes because there's a clear value proposition. It does the vacuum, and of course, in some cases, it also does the mopping. And important thing is there is no imminent threat. We are all very comfortable with the Roomba around us. We understand it doesn't damage the property, it doesn't hurt the people around it. And that is the kind of conviction made the Roomba very popular.
Yeah.
When it comes to the bigger boards, like the board to carry the goods or the board to carry the people, it's a different ball game altogether. There is a fear of acceptance because of the unknowns. We are not
Yeah.
really comfortable with what we don't know about these bots. And that's what I think is preventing us in accepting these robots with the open arms in our day-to-day life. Do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think that is the next big step is going from these kind of robots that are performing fairly straightforward tasks to transitioning to robots that can deliver goods or carry people, as you say. I think also the these robots just being in the outdoor world and having to interact with different that there's obviously pedestrians and there is there's other cars on the road, and there's all of these different nuances that you have to consider. It is quite a complex problem to solve, and I think that the adoption of these technologies, we're seeing it more now. I mean, I've been recruiting robotics people for 5 or 6 years, and this is when some of the self-driving companies were still they were kind of they were well established, but we didn't really have any products on the road. So I think we're at a stage where it's becoming more accepted. But yeah, I think we're only at that point now, which is quite exciting because there's still a lot of work to be done in this area and a lot of innovation. But yeah, that's my overall thoughts, really.
Correct. So, to dial in a little bit, so I visualize in mind these robots has to be built based on the application.
Hmm.
So in my mind, I sort of classify into big buckets. One of them is like the humanoids or pet robots.
Yeah.
I'm visualizing and I'm imagining one of these days the humanoids of the world will take care of my laundry, my dishwashing, and ironing the clothes and organizing the closets and so on. Isn't it will be wonderful?
Yeah.
So that those are the days what I'm imagining with the kind of humanoids of the world.
Hmm.
And then there are like different classification of the bots based on the speed and the weight. For
Hmm.
example, we can conceive an idea of a smaller bot with the medium or a slow speed bots. I
Yeah.
can sort of elaborate this. Uh, so we all understand a typical person using the bike.
Hmm.
So the weight and the speed of such a sort of biker on a bike is typically around 200 pounds, and the speed of anywhere between like 5 to 15 miles based on the bike. And 15 miles per hour is the maximum speed limit in most of the Northern America or the US based bike lanes. If I design a robot which can have a similar capacity and a similar speed, I have no doubt in gaining the trust of a general public and making sure that there is an acceptance for such a mobile bot. The reason being, there is a general acceptance of the impact or the accident due to a biker. We generally think that is nominal. There is no perceived catastrophic damage after such a collision.
Yeah.
The second one is like a slightly bigger one. It can carry higher payload, but it will be slower in speed. I can think of very constrained environment like the airports, the
Hmm.
seaports, and the harbors where there are like trained people. They have to carry huge payload, but it will be in a very constrained zone. This is
Yeah.
another way to reinforce the trust and the safety aspect of these mobility bots.
Hmm.
And the third and the next phase, I can think of making a bigger bot, like what we are talking about, like uh, a bot which can carry payload up to say 40 tons, which is the 18-wheeler trucks can carry here.
Yeah.
We all like distinctly remember the pandemic days. The whole
Yeah.
supply chain came into screeching halt, and you may wonder why. It is not because of lack of production. It is not because of the availability of the goods. It is because
Mm.
of lack of our ability to transport them from the production or the warehouse to the consumer. So imagine a situation where we have a dedicated lanes, fleet of autonomous trucks moving from one city to another city, one state to another city, connect the whole country. Now touch wood, nothing should happen in the future. Even if something happens, I can pretty much guarantee you, as long as there is a continuous availability of goods, there'll be guaranteed mechanism to deliver that to the consumer. And
Yeah.
that is a utopia I am envisioning in my mind through this autonomy and through this robotics world. I
Yeah,
hope.
no, some really interesting applications there. I've seen a few startups that have popped up who are doing um, robotics within more constrained environments, like in airports and things like that. You know, automating baggage and yeah, there's some interesting companies in that area for sure. And yeah, I can certainly see your perspective in terms of I guess the larger the application, the more risk that carries and the more hesitance potentially there would be with your average consumer. But yeah, I think those points that you've made are really interesting. So yeah, thanks for sharing all of those. Is there anything else that you would add?
Yes.
Any other topics that you wanted to discuss?
Yeah, sure. So what I started with two challenges. One is like the behavioral or psychological
Hmm.
barrier. The other one is the technological barrier. We talked
Yeah,
about different psychological barrier. Basically, it is a fear of unknown. The only way we can gain the trust and enforce the safety is taking these small steps, making sure that people are comfortable to lead their life around these bots in a safe manner so that the coexistence becomes a reality in the future. The second one is the technological barrier.
yeah,
So let me elaborate a little bit more. As we all know, we are truly gifted as a human species. We perceive the world through biological sensors.
hmm,
And most of our driving decisions are based on these sensory organs. We make our decisions based on the vision, based on the sound, based on touch and smell. Unfortunately, or fortunately, most of the robots today perceive the world around them with the vision. Of
yeah,
course, the contemporary solutions have sound as a secondary input. I hope you are very familiar with that kind of topology and the architecture. But we still don't have a tactile sensors and the smell sensor, which
yeah,
are like robust and which are like reasonable cost. So now, if you extend the argument a little bit further, so we perceive the danger or the damage based on our experience through the driving and the accidents on the what we see on the road. And and that's why I was talking about if I create a smaller bot with a slower speed similar to bike lane, we all understand accept the sort of the damage around the same. Now we as a human, we are like fantastic in making our decisions under like extreme adverse conditions like the low light, the fog, the snow, the glare, rain, and so on. We really don't have any hesitation in distinguishing a, a living thing to non-living thing even at the middle of the night. And we are like so natural in changing the course of our driving based on the road conditions, and we slow down when there is a water puddle or the
Yeah.
wet concrete. It is natural for us to take a deviation based on the roadblocks, the accidents, or the traffic cones, and so on. We truly sort of appreciate and understand the cops directing the traffic in case of an emergency. Now, pause for a minute and imagine how hard it is to mimic such an intelligent system using a man-made sensors and the algorithms. I'm sure it is extremely challenging. Don't you agree with me?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's just not really something that I have thought about how humans perceive different conditions and obstacles when it comes to driving. It's almost second nature to us. So trying to program capture that data firstly, and then program a computer to understand it. It's highly complex. It's certainly something that I wouldn't know how to do. But that's why we have people like you who can solve these types of problems.
Correct. So what I'm trying to convey is we really need a mature sensors with
Mhm.
the intelligent algorithm built around it to perceive the world and nature of the road or the environment around us to make a decision which is safe for the bot as well as the people or the environment around it. Now, the second aspect is the compute itself. We all
Yeah,
know about Nvidia today, the richest the company in the world.
yeah.
And the Nvidia offered us the enormous compute power.
Mhm. It seems like
And
everyone I speak to, every engineer is building um, on one of their chips.
that's correct. The Nvidia, the ICs not only provide the enough compute power, but it
Mm.
also does in a very efficient way, meaning with a lesser and lesser power as they go from one generation to another generation. It is extremely vital in the context of a robotic design because I don't have to worry about what if my robot becomes hot because we are doing so much of a number crunching with lesser and lesser of power. Now, it has a distinct advantage in the context of the mobile bots. Think of having a battery and using it 100% energy for the intended purpose of number crunching, sensing, and doing the actual actuation. So we are not wasting any more energy because of overheating and so on. So that is the another sort of technological advancement we have in terms of the ICs and in terms of the power dissipation. So with all of these things today, we can build a reasonable bot with a single chip from companies like Nvidia. And I'm really, really looking forward for the wonders what Nvidia creates in the future.
Yeah,
Do you have any comments?
amazing. Yeah, I just think it's so exciting that some of the developments in this area. Yeah, these AI chips are got so much more compute power than what we've seen in previous years, and some of the applications that are coming out of this development it's really exciting. So. Yeah, I think some of the things that you've talked about there are just amazing to hear in terms of adoption of these robotic platforms at scale, how we could potentially get there, some of the challenges that are kind of coming our way to make that happen, but also with the technology, how do we improve it and how do we scale the technology to the next level? So yeah, thank you for sharing all of that, Raj. I want to ask you next a little bit about obviously your career. You've had a very successful career building sensing hardware. You spent a good proportion of your career doing that. I speak with lots of robotics folks, mainly engineers, some of which are trying to break into the industry, some of which have more experience. What would be the main tips that you could give to anyone who wants to progress their career in this industry, really? What are the things that have helped you and things that could help our listeners?
Sure. I truly believe in what Thomas Edison has taught us, which is genius is 99% of perseverance and 1% of inspiration. What I truly believe is there is no substitute for the hard work. And that's what
Yeah,
I live day in, day out. Along with the hard work, we have to be passionate. We have to have that inner fire. We have to have unchallenged motivation to succeed. So if you have all of this quality, I don't think anyone um, have problem in entering to a machine learning or deep learning or artificial intelligence field. As we all know, the current generation is much smarter than the previous generation. I'm sure generation to come will be smarter than what we have today. What it means is if if a person can articulate the problem and if we can define the problem without any confusion, with a clarity in less than 5 minutes, there is a high probability that he will stumble upon the solution himself. If not, there'll be always a peers, meaning your coworker, willing to help to solve a well-defined problem. What I also learned is cooperation is the key to success, and that's what the game theory taught us.
yeah,
And the deflect is path for failure. And most of these mid to small size companies truly believe in individual success translate into organization success, which in turn translate into a company success.
mm,
So if you're truly interested in working for a smaller company, be a team player,
yeah,
work with others, and the success will be a natural byproduct of that. If you
yeah.
think you are the odd man out, you are truly gifted and blessed, it will become a challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that's overlooked so much in this industry. I think first and foremost, you have to be extremely smart. There's no doubt about that. To build some of these robots, it's not easy, and yeah, you have to be intelligent. But then there's such huge value in being a team player, being able to communicate clearly with your peers and take ideas and actually build them into products. That's requires a lot of commercial and business acumen, really. So I think, based on a lot of conversations I have with business leaders, Raj, you know, we don't typically struggle to find smart, intelligent people. It's more people who are smart and intelligent who can also communicate their ideas and work well with their teammates. So thank you for sharing that. The final topic I obviously wanted to cover was more around your leadership experience. So advice that you have to maybe other business leaders in the industry who are scaling teams right now. So what do you think are the main points that the main areas that you've implemented when it comes to kind of building and leading teams?
So as we just touched upon, it is all about the team. It's all
Mm,
about the trust. So if we build a quote unquote core team with the people who unconditionally trust, I believe 75% of your problem is solved.
Mhm.
As you rightly said, it is not about the intelligence or it is not about the smartness. It is about the human interactions. It is about the unconditional trust you have with your team member to execute what we believe is the core value of our company, what we believe is the differentiator of what we provide to our customers. So if I recruit handful of unconditionally trustworthy people,
Mhm.
and if all of them can take a area and become an expert in the core value what we provide, then another maybe 20% of the problem is solved. Now it
Mhm.
comes to the prime time, which is the scaling. So
Yeah.
you have a bunch of people who are already mastered the art and who unconditionally trust it. Now,
Mhm.
those are the people who go and recruit and mentor your your employees of the future. That's
Yeah.
how I build the team around me in any organization.
Yeah. I think those early hiring decisions are so important. Bringing in the right people at the start can set you up for success in the future. And it only takes one person who may not be, fully on board to, have a detrimental effect on the culture. So I think having a team that you trust, that is on is on the same journey, wants the same outcomes, is a team player, all of those things that we discussed. That's really important. Sets your business up for success, and yeah, it's just really important to get that right from the start, I think. So thanks for sharing that as well, Raj. I think we've had a great conversation today. I hope that our listeners think the same.
I'd like to end my conversation with you, Dan, with one note.
Uh-huh.
I'm
Please do.
like always like the science fiction. I'm in the
Uh-huh.
world. I would like to live in the world of science fiction. What I'm imagining is a future where most of the homes will have one or the other, uh, a robotic pet or a
Mhm.
humanoid, and it will have its own living space just like as a pet, and it will take care of most of your routine jobs, and we'll be comfortable. The service will be unbiased and affordable. And
Yeah.
now you think of a street and a city where there is a humanoid care, just like the healthcare of the humans, right?
Yeah.
And the robot can periodically get into this humanoid care and take care of itself. Isn't it be amazing? And stretch it a little bit. The humanoid calling from the humanoid care to me saying that, so this is the cost of the material to take care of myself. And by the way, this is a labor, but this labor is much cheaper because another machine is taking care of me. Will it be amazing to live in that kind of world?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of tasks that I would be quite happy to delegate and have automated with a humanoid robot for sure. I think the dishes for a starter, that's where I would see a huge application for something like that. But really, everyday tasks, like you say, jobs around the home that you don't have time to do when you get in from work. I think, we're in an era where we're so keen to kind of optimize everything in our lives, and by creating more space and time to do other things and apply ourselves in other areas, it means that the capabilities are endless, really. And I think that having robo assistants, that addresses that problem, but it also addresses the labor shortage issue that we have. You mentioned potentially like humanoid robot assistants for healthcare. I mean, we struggle to hire enough people in the healthcare industries for a lot of different services, and there's so many industries that will benefit from this. So I'm on board with you. I can see this in the next 10 years. I think this is going to be huge, and even further than that, thinking about our children or our children's children, it could be a very normal world for them. But I think we're just at the beginning of starting to see this technology really kicking off. So yeah, amazing stuff. Thank you, Raj. It's not every day we have conversations like this with business leaders in the market who really kind of they see a lot of what's going on in the industry and have been in the industry for some time. So I think our listeners will be ecstatic to hear about all of this. And yeah, I guess on a final note, thank you for joining us. And is there anything else that you wanted to plug to our community whilst we have some time?
I think everybody should start accepting the fact that we are going to coexist with the bots, and bots are the reality, and it will make our life safer, and it will provide a service which will be comfortable at a reasonable cost, and specifically those services will be unbiased, and that's what I'm excited about. Unbiased, safe service at a reasonable cost. And
Yeah.
as you rightly touched, and that's what everybody looks for.
Fantastic. Well, hopefully we can get all of that right, and this will be a positive impact and change on the world. So again, thank you, Raj. Thank you to all our listeners for tuning in. I really appreciate you listening to the podcast. We're a growing community, so please follow and subscribe to the page. There'll be lots of exciting content coming your way over the next few months, heading towards the end of the year. I can't believe I'm saying that, but yeah, we have lots more exciting guests that will be joining us, and lots of exciting content for you to tune into. So yeah, thanks everyone.
Thanks a lot,
See you
Dan.
later.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, all your community members.
Thank you, Raj. Have a good one.
Thank you. Bye bye. Have a great day.